And thank you very much for your wonderful words towards Manifesta. And you're completely right that the team is highly inspired. And what is probably the most important thing, that we invited more than 50 artists, about 60, public programs, the exhibitions in the Element Park, and that all of these artists, when they came, focused on themes in Petersburg, they were touched by the magic of the Winter Palace, being aware that we are celebrating, with a footnote, the history of the palace, 250 years. And at the same time, it's the 10th time that Manifesta happened, and you all know it was developed because of political circumstances when the Berlin Wall came down, and we had hoped that would be the end of the Cold War. Unfortunately, it's not true. There was this great aspiration that Europe, East and West, North and South, would understand each other, talk to each other, and don't continue to reinforce cliches, preconceived ideas about cultures which were merged in ideology. So when I was approached, would you like to make a proposal for the 10th anniversary of Manifesta in St. Petersburg at the Eremitage, I immediately said yes, very much so. Not very professional. Usually you say, you send me the context, and I'm happy to consider it. No, I emotionally immediately said yes, even though I have not been here, but familiar with its history. The history of 3 3/4 revolutions. The history we all know from Eisenstein, who made a film which made history, but it's an explanation which is film rather than history. And I'm interested in art rather than sociology. So I thought, why don't we make a birthday present, a bouquet, of a grand old lady who can only be given something which she has not yet had, and she can thrive on for the next 250 years. It's only a little footnote, but it's about artists taking responsibility for an aesthetic decision, context, what they do, what they do not do. This is maybe the message, and I believe that the exhibition will only exist by the end of October, when it doesn't exist anymore, because it is kind of a myth. This place is extraordinary. There is no other museum in the world, not the Louvre, not the Prado, not the Metropolitan Museum, because it is completely full of history, and the quality of these various collections are so amazing, and you always get lost and you discover things continuously. So this is a kind of time-warping machine, which is very important for the survival of future, for culture, because people can find out about their own identity from all over the world. And you can check on your own sensibility. Why did you were so much impressed when you first time saw the Rembrandts, or you saw the Siberian archaeology? And then you realize you change your taste, because you change, the time changes and you change with it. So therefore I believe what we have tried to accomplish is to celebrate the uniqueness of the Eremitage. You know, it could only be in St. Petersburg, and it was the same when it was Leningrad, and when it was Petrograd, and when it is now again St. Petersburg. So this specific momentum is very crucial to any cultural understanding in poetry, in music, in literature, and so on. It's local and it's universal. So I would like to thank the enormous courage, great diplomatic vision of Dr. Braitovsky to invite Manifesta here. And I think many momentums were very strange to the Hermitage, and it will take some time to think about it. Is it substantial? Will it have a kind of a feedback? On the other hand, there was a public program which Joanna Barsa co-rated, which makes inroads into the city of 5 million people. It's not only the historical center. Then we have a series of films, and most of all mentioned already. There is something which is very unique, and you wouldn't find it necessarily, let's say, in the West. And this is that more than 25,000 people have been engaged through education in those various workshops. And so this is a grand tradition which you have in Russia, and which we have been able to focus on and convey this in a contemporary program. So there is no such a thing as a public. There are many, many scattered publics. And since everybody now is growing up with Facebook and different kinds of electronic communication, the physical, actual, aesthetic awareness is very essential. And it might even be very important for people who do not have any interest in it, for survival of difference, of complexity. Modern world is very complicated, but modern art is very simple if you love it, if you get emotionally involved and you become a specialist. So these over 500 tours, I'm sure, will have had some effect on the future of a few people. If there are only 2, if it's only 1 person, that's enough. It's basically in the world. So I would really thank the tradition of Hedwig's initiative to enforce this communicative program on very individual levels. So the popularity, bringing it into the town, is not propaganda. It is very dealing with specific possible interests. And these people do not get answers, but they can formulate new questions. And this is what Manifesto was about, and it still goes on for a couple of days. It's very active. This is not the press conference, which will be the international one, and it is not clear to say if it's a success or not. But it was a wonderful experience, and I'm so happy to have been able to work with a great number of fantastic Russian colleagues. So there is, when I return, I always become aware how much we are subject to a kind of propaganda, and we should try to get away from propaganda and be very factual. What do we love? Why do we love it? What is a kind of momentum to live for? And this is one of the few hopes for the future, to have a kind of discriminate notion of what's essential and what is not. So also dealing with politics is very important, but if you are seriously dealing with aesthetics, it's definitely a political momentum. And we should not be too fast to make decisions when we don't know all its ramifications. So I thank you very much, and the colleagues, and basically that's what I have